Thank you for joining us. I'm Felicity Ezewike. It was a day filled with anticipation and expectation in the nation's judiciary as lots of groundbreaking stories made the rounds. Let's start with the biggest one. President Bola Tinubu has sworn in Justice Kekere-Ekun as the acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, pending her confirmation by the Senate. The swearing-in ceremony was held at the Council Chamber of the State House in Abuja.
Succeed Olukayodeariwola, who bowed out on Thursday upon attaining the mandatory retirement age of 70 years. Kudirat Kekere-Ekun took the oath of office and signed the oath register on Friday as the 23rd Chief Justice of Nigeria, but in acting capacity until a confirmation by the Senate. The swearing-in ceremony was attended by a host of dignitaries, including Supreme Court Justices, Senate President Godswill Akpabio, House of Representatives Leader Prof. Julius Ihobere, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and the outgoing CJN Justice Olukayodeariwola, amongst others. President Bola Tinubu, who had cut short his France trip and returned to the country for the swearing-in, praised Kekere-Ekun's esteemed judicial career and dedication to the Nigerian legal system.
Nigeria's acting Chief Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun come to this position with an admirable family and professional pedigree. Over the years, she established a respectable and incorruptible reputation within the bar and the bench.
Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, alongside NBA President Yakubu Maikiao, expressed support for Kekere-Ekun's appointment, noting her extensive experience and expertise in the field.
We're excited not just because she's a Lagosian, I am, but because of who she is. You know, she's been an outstanding jurist, you know, and from her resume, she's one of the only very few people that started first, you know, just as the lawyer, you know, and also passing through all of the various courts, magistrate courts, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and of course now becoming the Supreme Court, you know, and the Chief Judge of Chief Justice of the Federation.
Everyone knows her for her competence, most importantly, for her moral rectitude, for her character, for her firmness. And I expect to see some institutional reforms during the tenure of my Lord, Honorable Justice Kekere-Ekun, as the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
For Justice Kekere-Ekun, it is an opportunity to offer an improved justice delivery in Nigeria.
We'll make sure that people have more confidence in the judiciary. And I believe that it's not a one-man job. We all have to be on board. And because we all see where the areas are that need improvement, I believe that there will be cooperation.
Kekere-Ekun from Lagos is expected to bring up extensive experience and expertise to a new role as Nigeria's Chief Justice.
Let's now tell you more about the new Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun. Born on May 7, 1958 in Lagos, Justice Kekere-Ekun embarked on a distinguished legal career, beginning as a state counsel in Lagos before advancing to the High Court. Her judicial career saw a significant advancement in 2004 when she was elevated to the Court of Appeal, one of the highest appellate courts in Nigeria. Appointed as a Justice of the Supreme Court on June 8, 2013, Justice Kekere-Ekun has been praised for her impactful contributions to Nigeria's legal system, participating in key decisions that have shaped the nation's jurisprudence. She is now the second female justice to attain the position of Chief Justice of Nigeria. To discuss this, we're joined by a legal practitioner, Stanley Negbenebo. Stanley, thank you for joining us. What are the potential implications of her appointment as currently acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, especially considering her gender and her previous roles in the judiciary?
It is a position well deserved, if you ask me. Congratulations to my Lord. For record purpose, I wish to state that in the bar, there are no females. So the issue of agenda is not a very important factor as it relates to this appointment. We only have gentlemen at the bar and, of course, on the bench. But, of course, going by her pedigree, her history, and all of what she has achieved and accomplished over a 30-year career in the judiciary, it's actually a commendable appointment. She deserves it, and we pray that every one of the stakeholders in the system support her to succeed.
How might her appointment impact the judiciary's approach to gender-related issues and women's rights in Nigeria? I mean, like it or not, she is the second woman to be holding that position, and it is quite an accomplishment.
Oh, well, I would say she's one of the early pace setters on the bench, and she has made a mark in terms of her contributions to jurisprudence relating to gender protection and all that. She's paid her dues too. What I think the message that will go out there will be, yes, there's a new sheriff in town, and everyone needs to keep to the rules. The rules relating to gender protection and equality, especially protecting vulnerable women, have always been in place. And I'm sure with a woman at the helm of affairs, there may be little or no room for circumvention of the already established rules. It's a new dawn in judiciary, and as much as possible, we expect that there will be radical changes associated with this kind of new development.
Given the significant challenges facing the Nigerian judiciary, such as corruption and backlog of cases, even the outgoing Chief Justice did say that some cases that should have been at the appellate court move on to the Supreme Court, and that needs to be checked. What are your expectations for Justice Kekere-Ekun's leadership addressing some of these issues?
It is not gainsaying that Nigeria is in dire need of legal reforms, especially with judicial administration. Interestingly, just a few days ago, a new Supreme Court rules was just enacted, and part of the provisions of that rules. Incidentally, may I mention that my Lord Justice Kekere-Ekun was actually the one who chaired the committee that put together that rule of court. And what rules of court do to court proceedings is they aid the administration of justice. And in line with all of the landmark reforms that have been introduced into that rule of court, I believe that she's in the best position to actually drive that process. Many of the landmark provisions that have been done include and are not limited to electronic filing, as well as other things that will aid the speedy disposal of cases in the court. If that is properly implemented, which I'm sure she will, you will see cases that used to either to take about 20 years to dispose at the Supreme Court level get shortened. Of course, the role of the lawyers in judicial dispensation is also not to be belittled. Lawyers need to also be a little bit more responsible. Several appeals that are in the Supreme Court today don't really have a business to be at the Supreme Court. But of course, for reasons best known to several persons, they always want to argue cases till the very last point, and hence it causes a lot of workload at the Supreme Court level, hence the backlog that we usually have that hinders the administration of justice. On the other hand, on the issue relating to corruption, well, there's a Nigeria endemic problem which cuts across every strata, and the judiciary is not insulated from it. What I know when women take charge of things is they bring their Midas touch to it. Efforts have been made to curb corruption in the judiciary. The outgoing CJN had also taken several disciplinary actions against erring justices, and I believe that that energy will be sustained for the betterment and upliftment of the judiciary.
I do love your comment about the Midas touch. I mean, it is something that women are very proud of, and we're expecting a lot from the new acting Chief Justice, but we cannot shy away that she will face some challenges. What are those potential challenges you foresee she will have to tackle, and how confident do you think she can leverage her experience to overcome them?
The biggest bane of the judiciary, as we all know, has always been guaranteeing its independence. Many of us have always argued that funding for the judiciary should never come from the executive, should never be approved by the Senate to guarantee its independence. A couple of suggestions and suggested reforms have been put in place in this regard. And I believe that my Lord Justice will actually champion the full extrication of the judiciary from the financial control. Financial autonomy of the judiciary is actually the best way out of guaranteeing judicial independence. I believe that she will midwife this process and bet a new dawn for the judiciary. Over time and gradually, I am optimistic that several things will take their place for the betterment of Nigerians ultimately. The judiciary as the last hope of the common man needs to be protected. It should be protected because once people lose faith in the judiciary, it is a room for anarchy. I'm optimistic, and for me it's a breath of fresh air. It's a step in the right direction. An eminently qualified person has taken the place. We only wait for the Senate approval so that we complete the provisions of Section 231 of the Constitution that completes the process of our appointment as the Chief Justice of Nigeria by the Senate confirmation of our appointment.
Stanley, thank you for speaking with us. We appreciate your thoughts.
My pleasure, absolutely. Have a wonderful night.
You too. If you've just joined us, you're watching Tonight. A reminder of our top stories. President Tinubu swears in Kekere-Ekun as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria pending Senate confirmation. Supreme Court affirms PDP's Duoye, Diri and Hope Uzodimma, APC's Usman, Ododo as duly elected governors of Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states. Rivers crisis, other issues top People's Democratic Party's Governors Forum meeting in Jalingo. And trial paused in Tanzania's outrageous gang rape case. Thank you for staying with us. We'll stay with judicial matters for now. The governors of Bayelsa and Kogi State have been affirmed as duly elected governors of their states by Nigeria Supreme Court. This was as the Apex Court delivered its ruling on the legal tussles bordering on the outcome of the 2023 off-cycle governorship elections in Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi State. News Center's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
Supporters of the Kogi State Governor, Usman Ododo, celebrating his victory at the nation's Apex Court. In a unanimous judgment, the Supreme Court panel of justices says that the allegation of substantially not complying with the Electoral Act was not proven by the Social Democratic Party's governorship candidate, Murtala Ajaka.
So we want to say to God be the glory. At least the bed has been finally laid to rest. And with this judgment now, I believe it's all over. So that the governor can concentrate, on his policies and the plan he has for the people of Kogi State. And I believe with this, all distractions are all over. And we pray that God will grant him good head to pilot the affairs of Kogi State, and then so that Kogi people can benefit from this good governance which he has in stock for them.
In the case of Bayelsa, the lead judgment delivered by Justice Garba Lawal held that the appeal by Temipre Silva and the APC was not only lacking merit, but a gross abuse of court processes.
Well, we are very happy that today again, Governor Diri has won. You will recall that this has been a series of victories affirming his victory at the election. At the election tribunal, we won. At the Court of Appeal, we won. And today, too, at the Supreme Court, the final court, the highest court of the land, we have also won, affirming his victory at the polls.
And you can hear from the court that our preliminary objection to the fact that the appeal number 15 at the Court of Appeal was an abuse of court process. And so the appeal here is also dismissed, just like the Court of Appeal dismissed it because it was an abuse of court process, because the Constitution only entitled you to file one appeal, and so you cannot file two appeals.
The judgment brings an end to a year-long legal tussle by participants in the elections and makes a way for governance to begin in earnest. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
You can certainly feel the energy in the environment. In the same vein, the Supreme Court has also dismissed the appeal filed by the People's Democratic Party and its governorship candidate, Samuel Anyanwu, in Imo State governorship election. The PDP had challenged the decision of the Court of Appeal, which affirmed the election of Hope Uzodimma as the governor of the state. However, in delivering its final judgment, the Apex Court held that the appeal lacked merit and affirmed the decision of the Court of Appeal.
My reaction to the judgment is that the Supreme Court delivered the judgment and held that the appeal lacks merit and is dismissed.
27 local governments were won in a manner that the elections have not been won in Imo State before, because of the effort the governor put into administration, where Imolites are happy with what he did, and they turned out en masse to vote for him. A lot of people did not understand the volume of what Imo people did in that election. But he spoke for us, he spoke for Imo, he spoke for the governor. He showed that a man who came into governance, and a lot of people were skeptics, were talking a lot of things. At the end of the day, the Imo people came out and gave him that mandate that was a landslide mandate, overwhelming victory.
Let's now tell you that the governor of Kogi State has commended the judiciary for standing on the part of truth and justice despite intimidation in the rundown to the delivering judgment on the state election poll dispute. This was as he was received by a crowd following his victory at the Apex Court in Abuja. Ododo also assured citizens of the state of his commitments to delivering good governance to the people and bringing the dividends of democracy to all residents of Kogi State.
I feel elated, not just about our victory, but about how the judiciary head onto the point of law and ensure justice in this matter. You see, judiciary remains the last hope of a common man like myself. They were threatened, they were called names, all sorts of things, they were intimidated, but they have head onto the point of law by not allowing that to make them call what is black white and vice versa.
Meanwhile, Murtala Yakubu Ajaka, the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, PDP, and runner-up in the last Kogi governorship election, was attacked and chased at the premises of the Supreme Court. Ajaka was booed and attacked shortly after the Apex Court declared his rival governor, Usman Ododo, the duly elected governor of the state. Police personnel on duty were forced to disperse the attackers with tear gas. To discuss this, we're joined by legal practitioner Vincent Otalpupu. Thank you very much, Victor, for joining us. Before we talk about the decisions of the court, however that might be for whoever, I want you to speak briefly on the display we just saw on television where a candidate who had gone to the Supreme Court was booed, and it took the police using of tear gas to disperse the crowd.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you, our wonderful audience. It is rather what I've just, what I saw on the television, played out at the Supreme Court today. It is rather unfortunate. The politicians at this level of our, nascent democracy has taken the, permit me to use the word, madness and rascality up to the majesty and the hallowed chamber of the Supreme Court. It's a desecration of the altar of the Supreme Court, which is constitutionally guaranteed and which is sacrosanct as the last hope of the common man. You can, there's no court in Nigeria that is not imbued with inherent powers. Powers to even unleash and unleash. Powers to even make a man or woman, as the case may be, lose sense. that is to compare the powers of the court, how much more the majesty of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So it is quite bad, it is quite unfortunate for politicians and their supporters. They should also call their supporters to order. Well, election is a contest, and the person that who lost out and at the election went to court to challenge the victory of the opponent. And up to the Supreme Court, he should be allowed to ventilate his grievances in a court of law, because a court of law is a public place and should have access unhindered, a constitutional access granted under Section 36 of the Constitution. So it is a breach of his fundamental rights to dignity of person, right to a movement to access the Supreme Court, and right to be heard, which is granted by the Section 36 of the Constitution, for him to be chased away before the Supreme Court of Nigeria, where he ought to be protected. So
Vincent, I really needed to get your thoughts on that quickly. I needed to have you speak on that before we take on other issues arising from the Supreme Court ruling. This is today, we had 3 states have their elections affirmed by the Supreme Court. This is just 3 of the many states that have gone to the Supreme Court. What do you think is the implication of having the Supreme Court affirming elections that are conducted expectantly by citizens to decide who rules them? It seems it is the court that is deciding for our democracy. Is there an implication here we should be concerned about?
Yes, that has generated the contention as to whether the judiciary is in recent cases now decide the fate of the masses, or have taken the mandate as to the right to decide the free choice of the people, to the court, for the court to determine that. That has generated a lot of controversy and contentious issues and responses. And even in the court of public opinion, newspaper stand, you see people agitate that. But that's the case. But the law is law, and the responsibility and of the judiciary as the last hope of the common man under Section 6 of the Constitution is sacrosanct and must be ascertained and must be determined. Disputes have arisen, and there's a contest, and parties are not happy, and they went to court. Some of these things are interpretations of the law. What it requires is sometimes the amendment of the provisions of the Constitution. When you look at what has played out now, permit me to quote for emphasis to support my position. Professor Oliver Wendell Holmes, one of the English greatest judges, said that in the realistic school of thought, that the prophecy of what the court will do in fact and nothing more pretentious are what I mean by law. Law is law as embedded in the volumes of books. But when the Supreme Court or the court, any court as the case may be, gives life and blood to those provisions, it becomes law as the case may be. But the public opinion and public perception must also reflect in judgment of court as the case may be. But election cases present itself on a special class of its own that requires some level of consideration in deciding issues that has to do with electoral contest and dispute. For what has happened today, the public perception and expectation is very high, like in 2023 presidential election. But Supreme Court will continue to involve, the law, continue to improve on the law to meet up with the expectations and the yearnings of the people. In most cases,
there are concerns. I mean, Vincent, please speak to concerns about a possible overreach by the judiciary when it comes to elections and, impacting on the democratic governance in the country. Are we on the verge of having the judiciary maybe overreach a little and then obscure the balance of democratic governance?
The problem per se is not judiciary per se. I will say with all due respect and for all emphasis. Now, the Electoral Act is very cumbersome. Our electoral law is very cumbersome and need to be unbundled a bit so as to meet the requirement of justice. So in most cases like this, the judges will require to only apply the law as it is, but the public require them to interpret the law as it ought to be. You see the difference? So in this case now, Electoral Act has provided time to present a petition, which is 21 days from date of declaration. And there's a requirement for what the petition should contain. And there's a requirement of proof One, ground for you to challenge the election, that the person who was returned was at the time of did not score the highest number of votes cast at the election, that there was substantial non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act and other malpractices as the case may be. So this ground requires a very strict proof. It's not a proof that you just get from the markets and just go there and tell them, oh, this is it. It requires a strict proof for you to establish the malpractices and what you have alleged in the petition. In most cases, you see the instrument of the government, the INEC in per se, let me just be direct, frustrating the petitioner in the presentation of his petition. There's a lot of technicalities that the petitioner has to pass through, a lot of hurdles he has to pass through to be able to present his petition. He's working on time, 21 days. He has applied to INEC for CTC to be able to, present a good petition.
Okay, Vincent, I think you've been able to succinctly establish that the judiciary is just doing its job, and it has to do more with the politicians and the people who go to the courts to seek for justice.
Yes.
I think that's a good place to pause the conversation. Thank you for speaking with us.
Oh, it's just that. Okay, thank you. There are so many other issues that when the judgment of the court that is given today, we have no need to just dissect on this more, just a bit. For you,
I'm very sure we will. I really would love to hear some of your thoughts, but we are time constrained on the news. Hopefully, maybe we could engage you in one of our maybe Politics HQ or other programs here on News Central.
Okay, that will be fine. That will be fine.
All right, thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Away from judicial matters, the People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has held its monthly meeting in Jalingo, Taraba State to discuss strategies for addressing the nation's economic challenges and issues affecting the party. The meeting, which comes barely a month after a similar meeting in Enugu, addressed critical issues affecting both the country and the party, with a particular focus on ongoing political crisis within the Rivers State chapter. At the end of the meeting, Chairman of the Forum and Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, who disclosed the resolutions to newsmen, expressed concern about the nation's economic woes, emphasizing that PDP governors are proactive in addressing the needs of the people in their respective states. Speaking on the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State, he said the party is leaving no stone unturned in its efforts to restore peace and unity in the state.
Ameliorate their plight. Number 5, the forum knows the political impasse in Rivers State, where court judgments are employed to determine the outcome of party congresses. The PDP Governors Forum restates its stand and firm support to the governor of Rivers State and will engage the NWC of the Great Party to revisit the Congress with a view to correcting the anomaly and allowing His Excellency Governor Similaye Hubra to take his rightful leadership position of the party in the state. Number 6, with regard to the forthcoming governorship election in Edo State, we condemn.
Let's talk maritime. The Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria and the shipping agencies, Clearing and Forwarding Employers Association, have signed an agreement on minimum standards of condition of service for workers in the shipping industry. The agreement signing ceremony held in Lagos, and it was witnessed by the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Duoye Oyetola. News Center's maritime correspondent, Norma Obi Aswalu, has the details.
It's been a struggle of almost 3 decades to ensure good welfare and a dignified exit conditions for workers in the shipping sector. It was celebrated on Friday as a big win in the industry. This historic agreement, midwifed by the Nigerian Shippers Council, was witnessed by the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Duoye Oyetola, and other major stakeholders in Lagos. Oyetola, in his keynote address, commended the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria for its maturity. The part of dialogue the union took, which didn't allow the shutdown of the ports, as he reiterated his commitment to the implementation of the agreement signed.
I want to encourage the workers to please put in the best. There must be increase in productivity. They must encourage the employers to be willing to dialogue with them, because they believe that if they do so, the increase in productivity will justify whatever additional costs they're going to have. And I want to employ the employers to please keep strictly to the conditions of this agreement.
Honorable Minister, today,
the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Shippers Council, Pius Akuta, expressed his joy.
I believe that this will bring a lot of harmony in the sector. We don't want a sector that is volatile, a sector that is being disrupted because of industrial actions resulting from workers' agitations. So he gave us this mandate, which is in line with the mandate of Mr. President to diversify economy to this sector.
The President General of the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria said that maritime workers must be treated with dignity and adequately remunerated, while applauding the support of the Minister and Executive Secretary.
I thank all the press for supporting us, for believing what we are doing, because we don't have any other country than this country. And there's no how we're going to be a strike monger. Because Maritime Workers of Nigeria, we don't believe in strike monger. We believe in dialogue. We believe in meeting our employers. Not that we cannot do firebrand, but we believe in understanding where we are coming from, so that all of us can be on the same page. And that is what the result we are seeing today.
The occasion was also an opportunity for Nigerian Shippers Council to showcase the impact of the e-regulatory process portal in ensuring operational efficiency, noting that it will aid in the confirmation of reasonableness of demurrage, freight rate, and charter party fees. As the industry awaits its full implementation, it is hoped that this will help save tens of billions that would have been repatriated by these shipping companies. In Lagos, for News Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
We certainly hope so, Norma. Thank you for the report. Now, financial market analysts in Nigeria have continued to review the prospects of the Nigerian federal government's $500 million domestic dollar bond, which opened for subscription on August 19, 2024. This bond, part of the government's financing initiatives, will carry a 9.75% per annum interest rate and is set to mature in 2029. In this report, News Central's business correspondent Perpetua Fasomi Peter spoke to financial analysts to find out what their thoughts are.
Debut domestic dollar bond, which was issued on August 19, will remain open until August 30, 2024. While notable market players and the International Monetary Fund have expressed their concerns about the fund, many analysts think it is a good buy for investors.
I think we have to bear in mind that Nigerians that have dollar in their domiciliary accounts will find this instrument beneficial in terms of return.
It will look like you're already cannibalizing if you have to buy dollars to invest in dollars. At the end of the day, you may just have, if everybody has purchased dollars to invest in this offer, it will have a nil effect.
Irrespective of the bright side, some concerns remain.
In the early days, my sense is that it is positive for the country, particularly if the funds are invested in infrastructure that will deliver economic value over the medium to long term. That is when, to my mind, it makes economic sense to the country.
So I would have loved a situation where if they are raising this debt, if it's not just for FX stability solution, it should be targeted towards what are the projects. We should have listed out the projects we want to use this money for.
While asserting that the amount was too insignificant to cause a major upset to the nation's debt profile, analysts further called on the government to seek more creative and sustainable ways to generate foreign exchange.
We need to do a complete revamp of that NMPC. That is when we'll be talking about us benefiting from being an oil-producing country. Otherwise, it will still be like the same story all over again.
We need to intensify efforts on growing our exports. So, have we been able to identify the top 5, top 6 items that we can, or farm produce that we can export? Can we support those farm produce with the policies and also support them with cheaper funding?
Nigeria's inaugural domestic dollar bond offers a 9.75% annual yield and is set to mature in 2029 with a minimum subscription of $10,000 per investor. This investment qualifies for tax exemptions under the Company Income Tax Act and the Personal Income Tax Act for pension funds. Investors are required to make payments via electronic transfers and are prohibited from converting naira to dollars for this purchase. Furthermore, cash deposits will only be accepted if they have been held in a domiciliary account for at least 30 days before the offer date. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasami-Peter.
The trial of 4 men accused of gang rape in a case that has shocked Tanzania has been temporarily halted on Friday, according to a defense lawyer. The alleged attack took place in Dodoma in May, but gained national attention after a former mayor shared details on X on August 4, prompting widespread condemnation from human rights groups. The 4 men who were arrested on August 9 appeared in the Dodoma High Court earlier this week and pleaded not guilty to charges of gang rape and sodomy. Defense lawyer Mishak Ngamando explained that the judge paused the proceedings after receiving an application challenging the case's legality. Vice President Kamala Harris has been riding high on a wave of favorable polls and energetic rallies since she became the Democratic Party's nominee for president. But beyond the good vibes, where does she stand on issues that matter to Americans? Last night at the Democratic National Convention was a chance to lay out the policies in her headline speech. For News Central, Afia Hagan reports.
Vice President Kamala Harris capped one of the most extraordinary months in modern political history on Thursday night with a speech that rallied Democrats around themes of patriotism and cast Donald Trump as the enemy of classic American principles. With the cadence of a courtroom prosecutor, Harris delivered on the promise many Democrats saw in her when she launched her first presidential campaign 5 years ago and when Joe Biden chose her as his running mate in 2020.
Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans.
Harris also delved deeper into her own policy positions, particularly on foreign policy. She said she'd be a president who is realistic, practical and has common sense, a clear rebuttal to former President Donald Trump's effort to brand her as too liberal.
I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations, a president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people.
Before Harris gave her 40-minute speech, we heard from her family, with her goddaughter, niece and stepdaughter taking to the stage to lend their support. Her great-nieces, aided by US actor Kerry Washington, taught the crowd how to properly say Kamala Harris's name.
Everybody over here, say Kama! Everybody over here, say La!
Together! For president!
Reverend Al Sharpton, with 4 of the exonerated 5, formerly known as the Central Park 5, endorsed Harris for president. Pink performed What About Us, and 100,000 balloons were dropped inside the United Centre to celebrate the end of the convention. But after all that feel-good factor, what happens now? Harris is quite fresh to voters, but she has to deal with the next few months of Republicans attacking her at every turn, the potential threat of misinformation, and things that get manipulated online. The next big moment is a live debate against Donald Trump, which will be a very different experience to performing to a receptive audience that you get at a convention. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
Let's now join our business desk for today's business news.
Business news in association with Money Master PSB, the easy way to master your money.
In business, the federal government's fiscal deficit rose month-on-month by 0.1% to 824.79 billion naira in April from 823.91 billion naira in March. This is according to the Central Bank of Nigeria's April 2024 monthly economic report. A fiscal deficit is a shortfall in the government's revenue compared with its expenditure. The CBN report released recently showed that the deficit was 7.92% higher than the budgeted 764.19 billion naira for the period. The bank also said customer credits outstanding declined significantly by 53.83% to 3.8 trillion naira at the end of April 2024 from the level in the preceding month. And in Botswana, one of the biggest diamonds ever discovered, a gigantic 2,492-carat diamond, was discovered at Lucara Diamond Corporation's Karowe mine in Botswana. This gem is the second largest rough diamond on record, surpassed only by the 3,106-carat Cullinan diamond discovered in South Africa in 1905, which became part of the British Crown Jewels. The Karowe mine is renowned for producing large stones, including the 1,758-carat Sewelo and the 1,109-carat Lesedi Larona diamonds. This discovery comes as Botswana recently proposed legislation requiring mining companies to offer a 24% stake to local investors after securing a license, unless the government opts to acquire the shareholding itself, potentially affecting future mining operations. And finally, Zimbabwe is set to launch commodities trading on its only dollar-based equities exchange, the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange, VFEX, in the final quarter of this year. This move will be used to introduce mandatory licensing for all trading activities, according to the head of the bourse's operator. The new regulations published by the government on Friday outline the guidelines for mineral commodities trading on the VFEX, which is managed by the Harare-based Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, ZSE. Originally, the ZSE planned to begin this trading in the first quarter of the year. Zimbabwe, rich in natural resources like gold, diamonds, lithium, platinum, and coal, will require applicants for commodity dealing licenses to be registered, with the principal officer having at least 1 year of experience in trading such assets. And that's our offering on business news at this time. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly.
Let's go over to our sports team for the latest updates.
Sports Update, brought to you by Corn Oil. Corn Oil, we go the extra mile.
Hello and welcome. This is Sports News. Edo Queens have emerged champions of the 2024 Wafubi CAF Women's Champions League qualifiers after thrashing Ainovi FC of Benin Republic 3-0 in the final played earlier today at the Stade de Pré in Bouaké, Ivory Coast. Captain Suliad Abidin put Edo Queens ahead just before halftime with a low shot that caught the goalkeeper napping. Essien doubled the lead after 1 hour of play before Elizabeth Ukandu's own goal on 76 minutes sealed the win. The Nigerian representatives won all their matches, scoring 14 goals and conceded just once. Reigning Nigeria Premier Football League champions Rangers International have progressed to the second preliminary round of the 2024-2025 CAF Champions League. The Flying Antelopes got the better of Comoros Island champions US Zilimaju 2-1 on aggregate in a two-legged encounter decided at the Godswill Akpabio International Stadium in Uyo. Kenechukwu Agu had converted from the spot to put the Flying Antelopes in front after Ekesin Okorie was brought down inside the Zilimaju box before the visitors equalized. The first leg had ended 1-0 in favor of Rangers. They will now face the winner of the tie between St. Louis Sons United of Seychelles and Sagrada Esperança of Angola. Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois have sold out Wembley Stadium for their September 21st IBF Heavyweight World Title clash. Chairman of the General Entertainment Authority, Turkey Al-Sheikh, revealed that all general admission tickets for the bill have now been sold. Over 90,000 fans are expected to attend as the British heavyweights collide. Joshua will be aiming to become a 3-time world champion, while Dubois looks to retain the IBF title he is yet to win officially in the ring. Joshua is no stranger to a packed Wembley, having fought there for his landmark win over Vladimir Klitschko as well as his victory over Alexander Povetkin. But September 21st will be the first time he has boxed there as a world title challenger. Dubois, previously the IBF's interim titleist, was elevated to full championship status when Alexander Usyk vacated the belt. British drivers Lando Norris and George Russell secured the bragging rights after the first day of practice for the Dutch Grand Prix on Friday, with local hero Max Verstappen in unfamiliar territory behind them. Russell set a lap time of 1 minute 10.702 seconds early in the second hour-long practice session, and it was never beaten. Oscar Piastri from Australia coming in at 0.061 seconds behind. Verstappen trailed in fifth, 0.284 seconds behind Russell's Mercedes. Verstappen has never lost at his home Grand Prix since it was reintroduced to the circuit in 2021. The three-time champion had a blistering start to the season, picking up from where he left off in 2023 with 7 wins out of the first 10. But he has endured a lean spell by his high standards, failing to take the checkered flag in any of the last 4 Grand Prix, his most barren period since 2020.
Entertainment news in association with Glow Unlimited.
And now in entertainment tonight, popular disc jockey DJ Cuppy has shared publicly her decision to get baptized and rededicate her life to Christ, noting that it was the best decision yet. Cuppy took to Instagram earlier today and posted a series of pictures from her recent water baptism at the Holy Trinity Church in Brompton, UK, reflecting on her rededication. In the caption accompanying the post, she wrote, "This summer, I made the best decision of my life, to fully dedicate my life to God. Baptism isn't just a ceremony, it's a transformation. I am a new creation, reborn in His grace. The way to live is actually to die. Of course, I am still DJ Cuppy, but now, every beat, every moment has a deeper meaning. I see life in a new, brighter light. At 31, I finally understand what it really means to live a purpose-driven life." DJ Cuppy's milestone was welcomed with widespread joy and support from her followers, fans, and even celebrities. On the international scene, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez's home has hit the market. The divorcing couple's Beverly Hills mansion, known as Crestview Manor, has recently been listed on Zillow for a whopping $68 million. This 38,000 square foot estate, located on 5 acres, is more than just a luxurious property. It's a true architectural marvel. Crestview Manor offers a large pool, a 12-car garage. The property also boasts a unique indoor sports complex, complete with a state-of-the-art gym, a boxing ring, a pickleball court, 12 bedrooms, and an astonishing 24 bathrooms, allowing for an impressive 2 bathrooms per bedroom. Built in 2000, the mansion stands out as a relatively modern building in the area, combining contemporary luxury with timeless elegance. However, this opulent lifestyle comes with significant cost. The property carries an estimated annual tax bill of $402,234. But surprisingly, the HOA fee is relatively low at just $667 per month. Well, that's much you can take on entertainment.
And that's all we have for you tonight. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. President Tinubu has sworn in Kekere-Ekun as acting Chief Justice of Nigeria, pending Senate confirmation. Supreme Court affirms PDP's Duoye Diri and Hope Uzodimma, APC's Usman Ododo as duly elected governors of Bayelsa, Imo and Kogi states. Rivers crisis, other issues top People's Democratic Party's Governors Forum meeting in Jalingo, Taraba State. We also brought you news that a trial has been paused in Tanzania of outrageous gang rape. Send us your eyewitness reports to the number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on social media at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avro TV and on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for your kind attention. Have a lovely night rest and a great weekend. Bye for now.